Wonderful. Thank you, Leah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the February meeting of the Haliburton County Library Board. Before we get started, I would just like to officially welcome our new public member to the board, Leslie Banner. Thank you very much. The board is excited to welcome you, as am I. Thank you for putting your name forward and joining this terrific team. Thank you. And I thought just there's a lot of new people around the table, not a lot, a few new people around the table. So I thought maybe we could just do a quick go around and just, if you're a staff member, your position, and if you're a public or elected member. Do you want to start, Jackie?
Hello, I'm Jackie Halupka. I am a public member.
Hi, my name is Shauna Gamblin. I'm the Programming and Outreach Coordinator here at Haliburton County Public Library.
Hi there, Paul Patrick. I'm a public member of the board.
And I'm Leslie Banner, and I'm a public member too.
I'm Tessa Isles, and I am the Collection and Circulation Manager.
And I'm Jennifer Dayu. I sit on County Council, and I'm the Deputy Mayor of Algonquin Highlands Township.
I'm Adele Espina, and I am a public member.
My name is Caitlin Burnett, and I'm filling in as Deputy CEO here.
And I am Andrea Brown, CEO and Chief Librarian. Now we can go to the screen, maybe Walt.
Yeah, Walt McKechnie, Deputy Mayor of Dysart.
Thanks. And Lisa?
I'm Lisa Schell, and I'm the Deputy Mayor for the Township of Minden Hills.
And Warden Burton, I think you're there on the phone.
I am, thank you. I'm Warden Dave Burton of the County of Haliburton and the Mayor and Municipality of Highlands East, and it's just a pleasure for me to be at the meeting.
Wonderful, thank you all. So I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the County of Haliburton is located on Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which are Curve Lake, Rama, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Osule, and Georgina Island First Nations. We acknowledge a shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original Indigenous inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Okay, now I would like to start with the adoption of the agenda, with the first item being election of chair. Could I have a mover to adopt the agenda? Jackie? And seconder? I think Jen was first. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. So when we do the election of the chair and vice chair, the CEO opens the election process. So I will do that now. In accordance with BL 03, terms of reference of the officers, the library board shall elect a chair and vice chair at its first meeting in the calendar year for the term of the library board. So I will go now and ask if there are anyone interested in being the board chair, or anyone interested in nominating someone to be our board chair for this term. 2026.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Jen Dayu as chair.
Wonderful.
I'd like to second that nomination.
Okay. Are you willing to stand as chair?
I'm willing to stand as chair.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to nominate someone themselves or someone else to become chair? Going once?
Oh, excuse me. Woohoo. I don't want to nominate anyone at this time because the person who I had suggested that today I would like to nominate has made it clear that they're not interested at this time. So I'll just leave it at that. I won't expose who they are, but anyway, I'm happy to support Jennifer as well.
Okay. So just to be sure, going second time, any other further nominations? And a third time? Okay, so further nominations nominations, I hereby declare Jen Dayu as the chair of the Haliburton County Public Library for this term. And then Jen, I will pass things along to you to elect the vice chair.
Right.
And those are the motion sheets.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Wonderful. To you. Oh, my pleasure. It's my honor. It's a magnificent organization, and what a service it provides to the good people of Haliburton County. So it's an honor. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
There was a motion for the chair. Do you not have to read it out?
Oh, sorry, yes. Be it resolved that the nominations for the position of chair for the Haliburton County Public Library be closed, and that Jen Dayu be appointed as chair of the Haliburton County Public Library Board.
So moved.
Thank you. And Dave Burton moved and seconder, Paul, and all in favor. Thank you. Okay, now over to you. Deb. Thanks, Tessa.
My first job. So are there any nominations for vice chair or anyone who would like to declare their interest? It would be great if we could have a public member as vice chair, just to keep it balanced.
I'll stand for vice chair then,
Thank
if
you,
no one
Adele.
else, if no one else.
Are there any other members who would like to stand for vice chair?
I was going to nominate Adele, so that would.
Thank you very much, Adele. In which case, may I have a mover and a seconder to receive Adele's nomination? Lisa and Walt, thank you. Be it resolved that the nominations for the position of vice chair for the Haliburton County Public Library Board be closed, and that Adele Espina be appointed as vice chair of the Haliburton County Public Library Board. Congratulations and thank you very much. Thank you. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.
Yay.
Great. All right, well, with that, we will proceed to our regular agenda. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof today? Seeing none, may I have a mover and a seconder for the consent agenda, unless someone would like to pull something from that agenda for further discussion? Seeing none, a mover and a seconder would be great.
I'll move.
Adele and Jackie, thank you. All in favor? That's cool, thank you. Financial reports. Over to our CEO to guide us through.
Yes, so the report before you is kind of the it's an early start, so you'll notice lots of zeros in the year-to-date actual cost column. I did receive an email from Andrea Robinson saying that they're hoping to close the year end on Friday and wrap up in the next week or two. So there still are things being processed for 2025. It should all be wrapped up in the next week or two. But things have started to show up for invoices that we have been paying, of course, for our wages and benefits. And we have in 9.2, we can have our more fulsome discussion about the reserves and the 2025 budget and the amount that we want to transfer from reserve. So that's added as an item later on in the agenda. Is there any questions?
Anyone on the screen? All right, thanks very much for that. Seeing none, that will move on to seconder to accept the financial report as presented. Thank you. And? Seconder? Adele, thank you. All in favor? That's carried. Library policy. So the library policy committee got together, I guess, a couple of weeks ago now.
27.
Right. And looked at three policies. So Leslie, as I'm sure you have experienced in other boards, we have a practice of having a subcommittee that looks at policies, and quarterly we try to get together and tick off some of the policies in our extensive catalog of policies. So in January, we looked at our proctoring policy, public art policy, and that's right, and the succession planning policy. Would you like to walk us through that, Andrea or Jackie, or are you interested in speaking to any of these policies in particular?
I think there were just minor changes to all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to just run past the little highlighted changes?
Sure. So, in terms of the, proctoring policy, a couple of changes, we just, added in that proctoring is subject to library availability and within library hours. Got a little bit more specific about that. The public art policy, we did, clear up some of the language. A lot of the changes were to the waiver. And on the waiver form, that is also in your package. We did add a section up towards the bottom. So initially there was one place to sign off, and we've actually added sort of more accountability in that section so that the person loaning the artwork signs off, the library signs off, and then it continues on the back page. And we also sign off the artist or owner and the library when we give it back. And so that just adds a little bit more clarity, and also just a little bit around if someone doesn't come to pick up their artwork, a little process about that. So those were the main changes for that. And in terms of the succession policy, we added in some material about what we would put on the website, where as we go into the next term of council, the library board will change again. So I very much hope that you continue to want to participate on the library board. But what we will do is put information on the website to kind of explain what the library board does and talk about our strategic plan, just to give people a little bit more of an idea about what's involved in becoming a library board member.
And to that one, I think I'd probably add, we did remove the previous clause that the library board would begin the search for potential successors 6 months prior. I think having that conversation in the community is something that we would do anyway, but it wasn't deemed to be appropriate that that be mandated, that we would seek successors. It's really was generating interest and excitement for the library board, which we're happy to do via putting more information out on the website, etc.
And that was hand in hand with the changing it, that we did not deliver a package of information to those who are interested, but we tell them where it is.
So those were the three rather minor changes to the three policies. Any questions? Yeah, Paul.
I did have a question. I wanted to thank the members for the work that they did. I don't want to derail what you did with the proctoring policy, but I just wonder with the digital testing or examinations, if it's appropriate that there should be some mention in the policy about locking out a search engine so somebody can't be doing some clandestine work while they're performing their exam, or if there should be some video monitoring of the of the student or person doing the test so that the library is fulfilling their obligation. I mean, we say we're not going to, but I understand that's fairly standard practice. So I just wanted to throw it out if we wanted to engage in that discussion or not.
Yes, Andrea.
I think that would be outside the scope of what we could operationally do. Like, I think if a school or organization needed that kind of surveillance, I don't think as the library we could provide that. We just wouldn't have the time or resources to do that. We could have someone sit in a designated place and, you know, on their laptop, but shutting down access and that type of thing, that would be, I think.
Sure.
And we did discuss that for those very concerns. We did discuss a little bit, and I think how we resolved it for our purposes was to say that the institution seeking proctoring had to be comfortable with the terms that we could offer.
I saw that.
And if we can't, you know, if they're not, then we're just not we're not the right space for them. Happily, having done a few courses in the last number of years online where there have been exams involved, they do now have this back room ability to ensure that if you're doing your test online, you can't change your browser to another tab.
Okay.
So they know the moment that you leave that tab, they know, and there are consequences to that. So it could be that a reasonable ask would be that they say, could you just make sure that they don't have their, you know, any other digital things on the table? And the library could say, we could do that, but we can't guarantee throughout, but we could certainly be sure at the beginning that they don't.
Well, that's good.
That's a great question.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments on the? Okay, great. So could I have a mover and a seconder to accept the proctoring, succession, and public art policies as presented? Oh, thank you. Seconded by? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. It's fun. I love the nitpicking on policies. I think it's just, oh my God.
Actually, I'm going to ask to put on the next agenda, we'll consider having Paul on.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Right, so on to point 9, business arising from the minutes, and our requested overview on programming. So as you'll recall, this was brought up during the budget time, and so it was also something that was raised by county councillors during their own deliberations. A desire to understand of the 597 programs that we offer on a yearly basis, even in the county, you know, what is the general spirit behind them? What are they offering? Who is availing themselves of that? What kind of learnings can we get from that? You know, are there any? Does the staff see any space for renewed refinement? So moving ahead, are we going in the direction that staff think we should be going in? Are there things that could be, you know, new challenges that could be brought on, or things that maybe aren't as relevant now as they used to be? So a general overview of programming would be very, very helpful for the board, because I know that we don't attend all 597 events throughout the year. So I turn it over to staff to guide us through your tremendous amount of work in putting this together.
Just before I start with the report, I have placed a few copies of our February programming schedule on the table. These are available in all of our branches. They are double-sided. For those of you who are online, our website has all of this information in the programs and events tab as well. These are handy because we can give them out to people in the branch and they can see a whole month at a glance. But I thought it might be interesting for the group here to just kind of have a snapshot of the things that we're advertising for February. And just to note that this isn't even all that we're doing. as I'll get into in this report. So I'd like to start off by saying a huge thank you to Shauna Gamblin, who is our amazing program and outreach coordinator. She put together the content for this report. She does tons of work on keeping track of statistics, which you will see in there. And the volume of work that she manages to accomplish in 4 days is incredible. So huge kudos to you. And thanks to the support of the rest of the admin team for the proofreading and making documents accessible and putting it on Civic and all the other behind the scenes stuff. So as Jen mentioned, this was requested by members of County Council. So we're going to try to provide an overview, kind of a big picture overview for 2025 of the suite of programming and outreach services and partnerships that we engage in. Just to kind of take you back, we had talked about really bringing things back into the strategic plan and aligning them in previous meetings. So I just want to reiterate that our mission statement is the Haliburton County Public Library supports and empowers our communities by connecting people with free services, programs, collections, and information. And our vision statement is committed to empowering our communities through lifelong learning, inclusivity, and creating partnerships or creative partnerships while adapting and being resilient. So in terms of pulling out alignment with the strategic plan and matching it with this overview that we have prepared for you, just a few highlights within the strategic plan that I wanted to note for you. The strategic objectives that are most closely tied with our programming are 1, communicate the library's value, 2, build and maintain partnerships, 3, advocate for the library and connect with the community, 4, develop staff and strengthen the library, and 5, establish consistency and exceed expectations. The link to our strategic plan is included right in the body of the text, and it is also available on our website. So you can see, and in the report, I've pulled out the specific items within the strategic plan under those objectives, which are directly tied to our plan. So when we developed the strategic plan in the first place, this was definitely a core element of what was decided was the priorities to offer programming. So as you know, we facilitate free programming based on the needs of our community members and their interests. It's a core public service offering, like our collections and like our public spaces. It's a very core element of all that we do in the library to promote literacy, to promote lifelong learning. We do this for people of all ages, of all abilities, and we do it across the whole library system. So that includes in all of our 8 branches, in all 4 municipalities. And not only do we do this in the library, we also do it in community spaces, we do it online, we do it through community outreach. We have a lot of irons in the fire in terms of our programming. Our wonderful programming outreach coordinator is responsible for planning, facilitating, and supporting in-person, virtual, and outreach programming and events. Her role is also tasked with developing community partnerships and raising awareness of library services through participating in outreach events and offsite programming. As you'll know, and I'm not sure, Leslie, this may or may not be known to you. In 2024, we did a staffing model review where we rejigged our administrative team roles and looked for cost savings. And this is a role that was previously a full-time role, and it was reduced to a 28-hour-a-week role in order to achieve cost savings. As part of the redistribution of those job tasks, we had the systems and technology coordinator take on some of the programming that is providing direct service in terms of technology support, digital literacy training. So that's how we kind of rejigged the portfolio to accommodate the cost savings. As well, our communications coordinator liaises very closely with the programming and outreach coordinator and the whole rest of the team to promote in all sorts of different ways the programming that we're doing, both in the library and off-site. This involves things like social media posts, public service announcements, changing up the web content, the posters that you see. So in addition to those admin team roles, our branch staff, our branch assistants play an absolutely crucial role in the delivery of library programming. Because we have 8 branches located across a huge area, and Shauna is one person working 28 hours a week, we absolutely rely on our branch team members to offer great quality programming in all of our branch locations. So this can be family story times, can be elementary school visits, homeschool hangouts, in-library book clubs, teen programs, craft activities, movie screenings, all sorts of different things. For the most part, these programs are offered by branch staff during their branch shifts. That said, sometimes they are delivered by branch staff on programming time shifts. These are paid at the same hourly rate as the branch assistant work. And the programming and outreach coordinator has a designated 50 hours of time per month to provide to branch staff for the preparation and delivery of programs. So hope that makes sense. So often they're doing it on their branch shift, especially in Minden and Dysart when we have 2 staff on the desk. One person comes in here and does book club, for example, or another staff member does story time while the other person's on the desk. Sometimes though it'll require an extra person, and we'll have someone go to an offsite event, for example.
I have a question.
Yes.
That 50 hours, is that always used?
It's not always used, and it's definitely, there's more demand for it in the summer time. So definitely like March break, like that, we do have seasonal fluctuations. There are hours that are kind of more that we expect. So 1 hour is given to a staff member for to prepare a thematic book club each month, and that's consistently 1 hour. Whereas other things, it depends on what's happening at particular months. Yeah, good question. And so we would not be able to offer without our admin staff, our branch staff, and our volunteers and community partners, the amazing spread of programs that we are offering all the time. So sometimes we have programs that are facilitated directly by a community partner. So for example, in this room, we have coffee coloring conversation. It's a program for adults and seniors, and it's a facilitator that comes and runs that program. Other times the program is developed by the partner organization and we prepare it or provide it. And Shauna, could you just hold up? We have a couple of examples that Shauna brought in. So that is an example of a kit that is prepared by Early On. It's provided by them, so we don't pay for this, but they assemble it. It includes a book, activity, family literacy resources, and we facilitate this program by having them at our branches and distributing them to families.
So as a giveaway.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with the new community partners you're aligned with, or the partners for your program. incredible support that is mutual.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We couldn't do it without them. And Sean, if you just scroll up. So this is another partnership that we have with a group called Ampere. And so this is STEAM activities. So science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Arts. I mixed it up. STEAM or STEM. So this is focused on school age kids, and they provide the kind of the activity outline and the list of supplies for us to purchase. They provide us with a grant, and so a lot of the supplies we purchase using that money, and then any supplement that we require that isn't covered by the budget that they give us, then we supplement that with everything. So those are just two examples of ways that we work with community partners to be able to provide these amazing literacy resources for our community.
And we get 100 of these every month. So that's 100 stats. So when we look at how much we're doing for attendance, for example, that we hand out 100, that is 100 into our totals as well. So even though it's not maybe an in-person, that's maybe kind of how it looks. So same with the early on packs, those are about quarterly, and we get 100 of those as well. And in the summer, we also get 150 for July and August, just due to our numbers popping up in our branches for tourism.
Can I ask a question as well? So I appreciate that you don't know the budget of the partner organizations who are providing those sorts of kits, and that's fair enough. But would you say, if you just thought across the whole programming budget that you've got for materials, plus all of the things that you're bringing in either as a fulcrum for another organization or as a donation from another organization, would you say that more materials come from outside or come from the 8,000?
For the early on packs or the movie pack, so early on packs, there's no cost associated at all. And this, I'd say, is about 50%. So we receive about a 50% grant, and then the rest of the materials are purchased from our $8,000 budget.
Yes.
So
it's hard. I know what you're asking.
Yeah.
It's so complicated. It's not neat and tidy. I know that everyone wishes it was neat and tidy. But there's just so many partnerships. So many different.
So maybe if we throw the number away and just think about materials and staff goes without saying, I'm really just thinking about materials just to differentiate it from all the other wonderfulness. Would you say that more materials come in using the library as a fulcrum or are generated by the library in terms of all of the outputs of materials over the course of a year?
I think I understand what you're saying, and most come from our programming budget, because this is the only thing that we receive funding for as a supplement to provide to the public. Is this organization with Ampere. Other than that, all materials that are sent out are traditionally from our $8,000 programming budget.
Okay.
So that's materials that we send out, but we do, it's a little bit further in the report, but we do have other sources of revenue for our program. So for example, the Friends of the Library, although the programming that they do, some of you have attended, so that's not library program, but it's library fundraising programs. But then they take that money and, for example, we had turtles and snakes and lizards and all sorts of different things come from for Summer Reading Club for the launch. I think I included a couple of photos in there. And so the Friends paid for that visit. It was very expensive. It was, I don't know if you remember how much it was, like
a couple hundred.
Yeah, even I think like quite, and so we didn't pay for that, the Friends paid for that. So
also like things like the sensory trials, as it reminds me, the sensory trials in our branches, the big blue box, or any children that are coming in and playing with that does count for program participation. We classify that as a passive program, which Andrea will speak more about. So the Friends of the Library are kind of huge for that. And really, so felt stories even on our felt boards, felt stories for story times, outreach events.
And I see, with Seniors Active Living, you've got the needle felting supplies, savoring stories, ingredients. There are snacks provided by the Friends at times. So all of those things have budgetary.
And they're not in the $8,000.
And they're not in the 8,000.
Yeah. So they're all being contributed from the community from various sources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew, twice I think you mentioned grants. And are these grants that the library goes after? Are these grants that are offered? And if they're grants that we would be going after, that takes a lot of time.
It does take time. Yes, thank you for pointing that out. So the SALT grant is through, so we access it through the county. So Sue Tiffin is amazing at the county, and so the county has secured SALT funding for the community. There are many different groups that are using SALT funds. So for example, Adele uses it through her role with the Haliburton Highlands genealogy group. And so she's able to access the funds for mileage, I think they're using it for. And so then Adele is going to all of our different branches and delivering genealogy programming for seniors through accessing SALT funds. So we also are accessing those funds directly through the county. So it is a grant that the county did the legwork on applying for the money, but different organizations contributed when the call went out to say which organizations would like to participate in doing activities that support seniors. Then we put together, here are ideas of what we could do. And so our needle felting programs are so popular, and we wouldn't be able to do the scope, the number, without the funding that comes through SALT in order to purchase all of the felt. So the library is not paying for it, but Shauna's doing all the coordination, we're doing the promo, SALT's providing the money for the actual materials. It really is complicated. You can't break it down to like this program costs this much money because they're all different.
And would that be for a year at a time?
Yes, so the funds go from March to March, I believe, the fiscal year. Yeah.
And SALT again stands for
Senior
Active living.
Senior something active living
Center.
Center.
Okay. Caitlin, could you grab a calendar, a SALT calendar? Maybe we could just.
Oh, there we go. Okay, I was looking for it.
And so all different community organizations are accessing money, and so Sue Tiffin put together kind of an overview. There's an amazing calendar for all of these. And so the library is one of the organizations that participate and receive funds. Thank you. Okay. So we're also lucky to have dedicated volunteers at Adele and such as Jackie, who contribute their time and expertise. So just mentioned a little bit about Adele's genealogy programming. Jackie, we have a partnership with the Arts Council of Haliburton Highlands to display artwork in our branches. That's not categorized as a program per se, so it doesn't show up as a program statistic, but it is an example of a partnership which it's a community organization that will.
In fact, I have a little sign that the Arts Council has asked that we have in the library. It's a little art in public spaces sign, so we would ask that the branches display these where we have art displayed. So just a little aside.
So those are some examples. So we have a volunteer who brings her dancing and food and henna to do Diwali celebration. Yes, yeah. And so we partner with different people, all sorts of different ways. We also have programs which are hosted by patrons themselves. So a lot of our knitter circles. There are groups that come and they kind of organize themselves, but it still takes coordination by Shauna to book rooms and make sure that they aren't overlapping. And it does take a lot of coordination work and time to promote and put it on the events calendar. So it still does require library time, even if it's patrons themselves self-organizing.
Does Shauna offer a course on organization?
Our admin team is incredibly organized. And they love tricks. Yeah, yeah, and for sure. Yeah.
Another question. When external organizations have meetings here, is there a fee for using the room, or is there differentiation between different uses of the room, some programming and
There
some is
is.
fee-based?
Yes. So here we have this program room, we have the Rotary room in Minden, and we have in the basement a room space in Stanhope. If the room is booked for a private event or a private meeting that's not free and open to the public, then it is a paid room booking. So
Okay.
it works slightly differently.
So that's the
with
differentiation, whether it's open to the public.
Free and open to the public. So if it's like if it's free and anyone can come, then if we have the time and space available, then it's free. If it's we have lots of book clubs that meet, but if it's a select book club and they don't want anybody else to come, then they would book the meeting room. Yeah.
Is there any significant, are there significant fees collected for renting the rooms? No.
It's
That's
quite
pretty-
minimal. Dysart has a booking system in place through, what's the name of the software? Can you remember?
Oh, gosh. Yeah,
That's okay. That's okay.
okay.
And so if people book this room, then the amount actually goes to Dysart.
So perfect. Yes. So bookings for this room go to the municipality of Dysart. And that's how this one works with
Right.
Yes.
Okay, and so we also do a lot of programs that you won't find on here and you won't find on our website. So for example, this morning, Shauna, can you tell us what you did
Yeah,
this morning?
absolutely. I went and visited the Search Mom group. I've just been behind the Minden Food Bank. So that was a good opportunity for us to share about our resources, some of our upcoming programs, our February things. So I did do a full story time. So it was a great time to also kind of encourage literacy and the participation with parents and children and families. So that's just something that we don't have on the calendar, but that was 12 moms this morning and about 14 children. So that was lovely to go in and meet with them. So sometimes those outreach events, especially like school carnivals and things like that. So school carnivals, for example, it's easy to see about 200 people come across our table. So that's 200 that you're going to see on that big number of how many people have attended. So last year we did like JDH, Archie Stouffer, the Hal High Pride Run. So I'll normally attend those events and we'll have a branch staff attend. And that's also another fun way we can get involved in the community. And that's where you're also going to see a big spike because it was a huge community event. And oftentimes, sometimes they're on the calendar and sometimes depending, they're not. So
Because they're open to the public.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is that upon request from the external organization? Okay.
Usually, yeah.
Yes. Whenever possible, we can accommodate it. We will definitely try.
Okay. Moving on to the programming budget. So the annual programming budget for supplies is $8,000. That's what it is again this year. This amount does purchase things like button making supplies, of course, a reading subscription. Well, there's a list there of the different things, and film licensing. And so those are the things that we pay for with the $8,000 that were allocated. And then the next little section I've already discussed, so about the friends and the salt and the kits and the $8,000 doesn't cover staff training, for example, that comes out of a different budget line. So we do some staff training for programming at our all staff planning days, and then depending on the skills and interests of staff members, they may go to specific types of training to support their programming skills. I did do in there, or actually I think Shauna put it together, the snapshot of program partnerships. So that's a list of who we've been kind of most active with this year. We have many years of partnership, so that's not a comprehensive list. not on that list as well, we work with our radio stations, Musetta and Canoe, our local papers, staff to promote things. They ask us all the time for to know more about our programs. So we have lots going on with the media. And then as well, some other things that aren't technically programs, but that are partnerships are, things like the newspaper digitization project. So that doesn't show up as a program, but it's a way that, the library is involved with other community groups, the Dysart Community Cultural Resources Committee, or like the Arts Council initiatives, that type of thing. Okay, how are we doing for time here? 3:46. So through our partnerships, we increase public access to cultural, educational, and social activities throughout the whole county. And we strengthen the library's position as a community hub for learning, connection, and well-being. We've talked about Shauna's really important role in planning, logistics, partnerships, and evaluation. So there's not only Shauna and the whole admin team, there's library branch staff, program partner staff, volunteers. There's a lot of moving pieces, and as Paul said, Shauna could do a workshop in coordinating all the parts. It's a really big job. And the coordinator role plays a huge, important role in maintaining the consistency so that we can offer things like this throughout our whole community, not just in the Dysart and Minden, but in the smaller rural parts of our community. And so that we can maximize the efficiency of the resources that we have. We, whenever possible, try to harness branch staff skills and interests. So someone who's passionate about gardening, Jamie Bilodeau is in charge of our seed library, for example. So we try to, match programming opportunities with what staff are passionate about. We are very careful with the allocation of time. It's not a lot of time to accomplish a lot. Kind of skipping, I've kind of talked about that already. We did mention the blue blocks and the sensory tiles. So that is a way that by having the friends, they give us the money to purchase these literacy items, and then we can rotate them around from branch to branch so that for a while Dorset has the big blue blocks to play with, and then they go to Wilberforce, and so we can keep things engaging and moving around, and especially in the libraries where we aren't double staffed, so we can't have a staff member leave the desk to go do story time. It helps to engage the families and keep them coming in, especially because we're not open a lot in those smaller branches, may only be 8 hours a week, but we can send them home with a book and an early literacy kit and activity for their family. So passive programming we have talked about a little bit. So programming does impact other library metrics that we like to measure. So increasing branch foot traffic, increasing circulation, increasing card registrations, having repeat patron visits, just general increased awareness engagement of the library for our collections and services, just like, Shauna talking to those families this morning at the food bank program. It's really important, all the work that we do in the library and offsite. So statistics is one thing that the county council members had asked about. So every year, all public libraries in Ontario answer this huge, painful, massive survey full of all different questions about the library. And so we submit our annual statistics called the Annual Survey of Public Libraries. And so we use the criteria that are given to us by that survey. That's how we track our programming statistics. So when you look at the chart that's in the report, the reason why I tried to kind of color code them to show off the sections. The criteria for the programs in that section are defined by that survey. So we have this gigantic spreadsheet which tabulates things by month, which Shauna diligently enters all the time. And so that's how we keep track, because we do have to report on our annual statistics to the province. And that is a requirement for us to get the what's called the PLOG, so the Public Libraries Operating Grant. So that's why they're broken up like that. The chart was an aim to make that massive spreadsheet a little bit more understandable. So the annual survey category is given with the total number of programs in that category for 2025 and the total attendance for that category in 2025. And then it's broken down kind of, what are the different types of programs that fall into that part of the statistics, which program partners are involved, who does the promo, who does the program, and if it's, if there's not staff time, or if it's admin staff or program staff, or kind of who's doing the program. So I'm not going to go through that in detail, but it's all there. So I just like to say, we do a huge amount of work, and Shauna is one person, 20 hours a week. It's truly amazing what we are able to accomplish with the amount of staff time and money that we have, and we do it by being really efficient and judicious with our choices. Many libraries have multiple programmers, and we have one part-time. So kudos to Shauna and to the admin team for making it all work, and for branch staff and our volunteers and our community partners. It's really a team effort.
Thanks so very much for the work and for the excellent presentation of the work. Any questions moving forward? Yes, Paul.
Well, once again, thank you for all the work and the amazing volume of work that you do there. I wonder, in the chart where there's total number of programs and total number of attendees, it would be possible to add in the average number of persons participating at a session. I actually did a run down this morning when I was reading the thing, and I'm amazed at the numbers. The average per program is about 20 persons for each session, and some of them, it's 40 people attending a session. So it's pretty impressive. And I think it would be valuable if you could include that number in the chart.
We do have a huge spreadsheet, but it is a bit unwieldy. Like it's, I can send that to you.
No,
if you want to break down.
But anyway, I was thinking for impact for the county council, if perhaps just a one pager with the number of programs, the total number of people, because I imagine with the reams of reading you have to do, they won't want to even read the full summary here. So if there's a one pager that had some of those numbers that went back to county council, if someone wanted to refer to it, might have something for the benefit of the library.
That's something that just lists, by survey category. So the information's all here.
Yeah.
It's just a case of
just pull out the totals.
just condensing it. Yeah.
Yeah, although for 100%, I think for me, the huge takeaway though is how when we talk about library programming, it's not just about the programming that the library offers. It's about being the connecting piece for so many other organizations and their time and materials and contributions. And without that connecting piece, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this because I think programming is in jeopardy. I'm saying if you were to hypothetically remove that connecting piece, it is so much more than $8,000 material budget that goes by the wayside. It would be like a destruction of a network of support.
If they represent a central hub in every community as well, it's like a free public space that we're always looking for partnerships, and it just provides a unique place that everyone can come. It's open to all, and there's a library in each municipality and community, and it just helps kind of be a central place for everyone. Like, for example, the Central Food Network used Highland Grove to distribute their toys this year. So an example like that is just,
Adele.
Yes, so when I looked at this report, and then I look at the monthly circulation reports, what we're seeing is still only a portion of what the library does. I know that you keep statistics on number of people through the doors. I've seen the branch staff, every time someone comes through the door, it's marked. We don't see that at the board, those numbers. And I think if you have those numbers on a spreadsheet and can tell us how many people are through the doors, that's another measure of the value of the library. You say that once a year you have this
Annual survey.
yeah.
Typical week, it's called.
Because I spend a lot of time in the library, and I can, doing my programs, and I can hear what's going on around me. Another important thing that I don't think you measure, and I don't think the public, or maybe even us around the table, are aware of, is what all the staff are doing to help people, whether it's the number of questions that happen at that circulation desk and the amount of advice and help that staff are giving to the public. They're not walking into a township office and asking this information, and they're not asking this information at their local church or at the store. They're coming to the library. So, and right now, nobody's seeing that except you people. Is it possible for 1 week a year or a day to have branch staff keep track of everything that they're doing?
So we do that during our typical week survey. As part of the requirements for that process, we have to pick a week in the fall. September, October, November. It does impact kind of how Haliburton looks in terms of our yearly total, because we know that in the summer months when we have all the cottagers and tourists here, our numbers are through the roof compared to like in November, for example. So we do track that information for the week.
Right.
We also are in the admin team trying to work on a tool that will more systematically track our statistics. As you know, our admin team has been reduced, and it is a challenge to get lots of work done. So we have it on it is on our radar. We have made drafts of what it could look like, but it also involves staff communication, having people do it consistently, having a process to systematically gather the information into a report that gets remediated so that it can be put in Civic Webs, made accessible so that it can come to you. So there's a lot of background steps. So absolutely we could do it.
Yes,
but it's a matter of our team's
no, I'm not
capacity.
saying on an ongoing basis, just if you could give us a slice of life for, so that we could see. It may not even be an ad, but just the breadth of
You're in a unique
activities.
position because you are in the library so much. You do hear, especially when the genealogy office in Minden, you can hear everything in those offices, all the questions, all everyone coming in. It's unique and it is a hub and it's hard to quantify that presumably in some
Yeah.
ways, other than like if you're sitting and you're really listening and spending time in the library.
Yeah.
But it's such a valuable thing that we don't start to.
You don't
Quantify.
report on it.
No.
It's funny, in the Netherlands, there have been reports of the invention of slow checkouts at grocery stores.
Oh, yes.
And I think, you've invented the slow checkout. You should come and try an Ontario library, or basically any library, I'm sure. You know, it's just, that is the whole point, really, of engaging at that pace of the client.
Kindness,
And the kindness,
connection,
yeah.
it's free.
Yeah.
Real community libraries are really great for that because you do lose some of that in the city.
Mhm.
For example, the cities often have the machines that will check out your books.
Right.
So you just place your stack on there, it automatically scans and you're out without chatting with anyone. But in the real setting, you're coming in, like we might know you were in last week, you're a regular, and it's like a nice little connection.
Question for, I guess for all the staff. There's Cece. Do you feel that you are in line with what is needed by the community? Do you think that I'm sure every year, there's a shift and change in programming. Do you feel like you're meeting the call that is being put out by the community, or do you think some more alterations are needed to kind of keep up with the rate of change in Haliburton?
We can always do more. We want to do more. We are asked to do more. And we can only do within the limits of what we can.
Yeah. For
Afford
example,
to do.
this room, for example, is the only main room that we have for programming. So the city also has access to book it and block times off. And then, so it's really like room availability might dictate how many programs we can run at a branch.
Right.
Because we only have one space.
Yeah.
So sometimes we might try and have something in the branch, but it could be disruptive. So we try and have it here.
Yeah.
So it's like room availability, things like that.
But in terms of the nature of your programming, I think, I mean, if we see greater housing insecurity and more income insecurity and, vulnerability is sort of skyrocketing right now. And do you feel like you've got the dexterity to sort of gently, like you went to search today? That's a brilliant example. You've got the dexterity to craft the programming in the direction of the needs that are rising in our community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we do receive all feedback and then we take that into consideration and we can offer program grades. For
Right.
example, even like a knitting circle that was like approach was lovely. We can open that up for you.
Right.
So whenever we kind of receive feedback and also if something's not working, if no one's really attending, it's not quite the right fit, then we kind of make a note of that, maybe try again.
Right.
We really need, Shauna's job really should be a full-time permanent position. We all feel the lack of that.
Yeah.
Always.
I can only do what I can do,
Yeah, Shauna can only do what she can do.
Sometimes we can't always accommodate requests in the community to attend just because of work week and
Yeah.
things like that can affect things as well.
No, I get it.
I'm really impressed by the early literacy because I know how important that is. I'm also quite intrigued that you're involved with Central Food Bank, but not, I sit on the board of the Four Cs Food Bank, our local food bank here. And we know the tremendous need of food insecurity in children, particularly. We have the dubious honor of being one of the highest in that province.
Yes.
And certainly we are seeing that the budget there has almost tripled the cost in 2.5 years per month. $30,000 a month in food is needed in this community, and we have 3 food banks. So I'm just trying to make sure that maybe and I can talk to somebody after perhaps about some possible tie-ins there, because certainly we're seeing children's food insecurity, instead of saying hunger, that is obvious. But the early literacy is crucial for our children everywhere. But as school libraries are shrunk at $5, public libraries are shrunk, that need is absolutely.
It's still there and it's growing. I mean, who
Of
can
course it's
afford to,
growing.
move with a child's life, all the books that they need to read as they grow and change and learn, and the fact that we're free and we offer all the collections that we do, all the programs that we do, free space. You know, we had tons of teens come out here during exam week. Like the place was packed with teen boys, like seriously filled with teen boys.
You know, they're in jeopardy right now.
Yeah, and so like, and it's, I mean, it's not, it's hard to quantify, as we were saying, like the value of that. I mean, it doesn't come down to, you know, a budget figure of, you know, us playing a movie or Jackbox games. It's like, what, you know, how do you represent that?
And to acknowledge what you said, that definitely has been something we've talked about, was like after school snacks,
Yeah.
or children's snacks. So the logistics and coordination is kind of not sure how, but with maybe, yeah, we can have a chat after and kind of connect things that way would be great.
The problem is never lack of ideas or inspiration or connections. The problem is always just our time, because
And once you shrink a program, a person to 28 hours, it's really hard to move it back to full time.
yeah. Also, as part of that review, so the CEO position and the deputy CEO position, we take one unpaid day every 2 weeks. So we're working less. The programming role was cut by one. We lost a full-time admin support coordinator position. So we would love to do more, like absolutely, and we should be doing more, but we also have to maintain the health of our staff members, and we can do what we can do, which is a lot. Obviously, I'm very proud of what we managed to accomplish.
Yeah, because I am only one person, and so a lot of this is branch, it's community groups. Like I can't be everywhere, so very much rely on our branch staff to be excited about programs and be like a welcoming resource for people.
Yeah.
And that's key as well.
And they are in every location. We've got, you know, school visits from like, you know, Cardiff and Wilberforce. We've got, you know, a master gardener doing like how to care for your house plants. Like people use their expertise to, you know, bring patrons in and share skills and kind of forge community connections in all of our branch locations. It's a team effort.
Well, the overview is extremely valuable. Thank you. Yeah, that's very, very helpful for those of us on county council and for public members, both. Any final questions before, and I hate to cut the conversation short, but I'm mindful of people's time. Any final questions? All right. Thanks again. Very good work there. So 2025, do I have wait a minute, do I have no, I don't. Okay. 2025 financials and reserves transfer.
Yes, so this is a follow-up to a conversation that we had at the last board meeting in January regarding reserves. So so this is a different budget document than the one that we looked at in the financial report. This is looking at the 2025 budget actuals versus budget. And keeping in mind what I mentioned before, that they are trying to wrap up this week, but it's in the next week or two when the 2025 numbers will be finalized. So the question was around the amount that was identified to come from reserves in an earlier meeting based on the budget that the library board had approved on October 8th, and then that went to county council, and then county council agreed to fund $1 million, and the surplus or the remainder of what was for our 2025 budget would be funded from the library. Originally, that amount was identified as being $337,000 and $81. In the budget, that once all of the numbers were entered into software for 2026, the amount in the, showing in reserves for the 2026 budget that would come out of reserves for the library was, 354,259. The difference between the initial amount, the 337 number, and the amount that shows in the 2026 budget, the difference is $17,178. So I did investigated the difference. So where I determined the change came, so there was already $18,000 in the previous budget. There was already $18,000 in that line. So the difference was added onto that $18,000. And then the $822 difference between 18,000 and 17,178 is due to a reduction in WSIB funds. And you remember during the county council budget presentation, Andrea Robinson noted that there was a reduction in that fee. So the amount that we initially had was the amount that we received from the finance department initially for those benefits, and that was decreased by $822. So that is why the amounts didn't match.
Thank you.
Yes. We got to the bottom of it.
No, thank you for doing that, because I did have that question and you've answered it perfectly. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
So we did put a pause on that motion. So Jen, you have that motion.
The,
Now. So
the year-end budget. surplus.
yes, so so now we didn't proceed with that, the January meeting, because I was tasked with figuring out the discrepancy. So now it's over to the board to decide if that's what you wish to do.
The amount of 354,259.
Yes. So that's the amount in the budget document that we looked at earlier in the meeting. That balances out the amount that county council is providing. That's the difference. Now I've got too many documents here.
Thoughts, comments, concerns?
So that's our shortfall
Yes.
between the budget we approved and what county council is willing to provide. So I think our question is, do we take the rest out? Do we take the rest out of the budget out of previous year's budget surpluses and reserves? Or do we amend the budget?
Right. That is the central question.
Yeah.
And just before we get into answering that, since you had your hand up, do you want to ask something before we dive in here?
You're on.
Yeah, now, my question is, where's the $1 million? Like, I don't see it anywhere on this report at all. I mean, does it not show up at the beginning, or how does it become $1 million? Because we're $1 million short. I don't see it anywhere right now.
That's the amount that the county has agreed to use from the levy. It hasn't been deposited in there yet because we haven't told them, we haven't confirmed the amount to come from reserves to balance the budget. So, and as well, they are working on year end, and then we'll be inputting 2026. So the county council has agreed to fund the library for $1 million.
I understand that. That's why I'm asking, in the budget, why does not the $1 million appear? Because right now it says tax requisition 0.
I think they probably are in the process of putting those numbers in. That's the county finance department that enters that information.
Oh, I see. So this is actually a county form that I'm looking at.
It's the Questica software that all of the county reports are downloaded from. So it's not, we just run the report in the software. So they just haven't put the amount in yet.
Thank you.
So we're back to Adele's question. We did have this conversation earlier when we were discussing the budget about, do we have, and we can have it again.
Yes.
But do we given the shortfall, which is considerable, county council, I don't know how much of the history of this particular budget year you've been able to gather from the minutes. The county council saw that our library board reserve was considerable, and it was largely made up of surpluses, and was not required to that extent, given that we do not have many capital expenses. All of the buildings are owned by the townships, etc. So it was county council's decision when funding the 2026 that they would fund up to $1 million, and then anything else that was required would be drawn from the reserves.
And I don't know how much the reserves are, so.
I think we would have 100 and some left. It would.
As of the balance summary and the non-committed balance summary is $365,000 and $365,060 and 45 cents. There is still some money that is going to the photocopier, which is not part of that.
So that works out the reserves. So you're saying we would have $10,000 left of reserves?
So yes, except for the other part of that motion is to transfer any remaining surplus from 2025 into reserve funds.
Yeah.
So there would be probably between $60,000 and $70,000.
So what does that mean for next year?
You planned that.
We're not a Korean.
Great question.
So if I could just back up a bit, I had thought that if we were going to transfer 354,000 from surpluses, that we would still have $100,000 left.
That's what I was thinking.
That was what.
So how the budget has, so as of, so this Andrea Robinson just sent me, the non-committed amount, not including the surplus, is $365,000 and change. And then right now, the year-end surplus is looking at around $69,000.
What do you mean by non-committed surplus?
So that's without the so part of the photocopier money hasn't come out yet of the 2025 budget. That will be billed to the 2025 budget.
Because I know even county council in their decision-making was floating that $100,000 left over number.
That was an estimate, not from me, that was from the county.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
In answer to your question, Leslie, everyone recognizes we're in a moment of considerable risk. It was put forward at county council during budget time that this could be a bit of a temporary measure because we were facing in the county some rather extreme bills coming in from outside agencies that had to be incorporated. We had no option but to incorporate it into our budgets. But it is recognized that there is no guarantee of what next year's county council will decide when it comes to the potential of increasing the budget allocation to the library board back to either the same level as requested before or a similar level, or whether the reduction, which was billed a bit as a one-off, would actually remain. And, I want to say in the defense of county council, but that's not quite the correct term, but no one can guarantee it because it's a whole new budget year and it's going to be a whole new council. So that was county council's decision. And we have the next number of months to decide to what degree do we want to put our faith and hope in that decision being tailored to a healthier reality at county council next year, and to what degree do we want to start undertaking yet more trims on the expectation that the amount offered will not be reversed or reversed anywhere near to the degree that would fund the continued operations of the library. So it's a pretty critical time. Does that satisfy all as an explanation, or are there any corrections to my version of events that anyone would like to put forward? Okay.
And that's it. Just one last question. Is that a reserve from a known number of years or a long time or?
Yeah, so there's been surplus for a number of years. So my understanding is that it really increased during COVID because there were we weren't doing a lot of programming. There were many changes during COVID.
Yeah.
We have had quite a turnover of staff, so different CEOs, different people coming and going in key roles. We in 2024 we rearranged the team, and so that created quite a lot of savings from that budget year. There have been gaps between when we have had a vacant position, when we've been able to fill it. So they were not anticipated gaps. And some of it's purposeful in terms of the reductions from 2024.
I think I'm not in favor of keeping reserves for reserve's sake by any means. Each year needs to stand on its own with the budget, and there may be some either way. However, when you have a substantial reserve, then it's looked at as, let's spend that. Why not? And then, but and
it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And what do you do the next year
Yeah.
if you have to drastically start cutting? And that is not, you've already discussed what it was like to cut before. So I'm concerned about that.
We are, we all.
Yeah.
So the 69,000 that had been indicated to you that was a surplus, does that then get added to the 365 and change?
Yes, but we're gonna subtract.
Yes, and then we're gonna subtract,
354
of course.
or X amount.
All right, I
Yeah.
just wanted to know whether we were boosting that up
Yeah.
before we take it all
Yeah.
out again. Okay.
So if we take all 354,000 and change, we will use most of what's in there, but we will have some added.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there are two questions for discussion. One, I don't think is for today, but maybe it is. The question number one is, for this year, do we want to try to retain some of those reserves by changing our budget for this year? Or do we want to go ahead and continue operating in the way that had been previously approved by the board? So that's sort of the question of the day. We do need to start talking about the future. And if someone wants to link those two together today in their comments, that's very, very welcome. But I think the primary question for today is just about this budget for this year and its trend. So the floor is open.
Sorry. That's a huge topic.
Yeah. So maybe I'll go to Paul first.
First, well, Sean, the thing, I think, as they said at county council, we can't foresee, or we can't forecast what's gonna happen next year. But I think it was Bob Carter that said we're expecting a better year, but we can't hold to that. But at the same time, I think we should be revising our current year's budget. We should status quo on what we plan to do, carry on this year. And it's not damn the torpedoes full speed ahead, but we should stick with the course right now.
So by revising or not revising this year's budget?
Don't revise.
Don't revise, yeah.
And I agree. I did bring up the question because it is a question that is going to come, and I think it's something that needs to be talked about. And I think we need to look to county council, if we can, about what their intentions are for next year. But on the other hand, it's going to be a new county council.
Yeah.
So I think it behooves all of us to also choose our next county council well, according to how much we value the library and the library services. But I wanted to bring up the question of the budget. Because if the next council can only give us $1 million as well, well then,
Huge.
you can't do that to any kind of corporation and expect any kind of service. So I'm in agreement with this motion. I might amend it to say up to 354,000. Given that we may not need all of that. I mean, we're running a $70,000 surplus this year. So we may not need all that 354 if, for example, there's wage gapping again.
And Cece, I see your hand. If I might, I'll just offer my 2 cents and then go to you. I am in agreement with Paul and with Adele. I think if we were to start looking at the budget now, say we were able to shave $7,000, it's not going to help our reserve. It will make no difference.
No.
In the broad scheme of things. We've got a far bigger fish to fry later on. So my feeling would be to stay the course on what we decided, and then tackle the bigger question. Cease.
I'm not exactly sure if I followed the entire conversation, but I'm not interested at all in changing the numbers that we've already cut to the absolute minimum that we could afford. If we want to operate a library effectively, we have to make sure that whatever we need to make that happen is in place. We've already gone through, or at least Andrea has gone through, and cut this to the absolute minimum. Now what we're trying to do is perform a miracle, which in my mind is really not the right way to go at this. If council in its wisdom, bear in mind I'm part of it, but a couple of us were not necessarily in favor of the way this went. Having said that, it is what it is. So at the end of the day, I can't really get too concerned about what the next council is going to do. I want to make sure that we have a really good functioning library in 2026. We have the money to pull off what Andrea believes we need to do. And if it produces a surplus at the end of 2026, bonus. But I'm not prepared to sit down and rethink everything we did, hopefully to save, as someone has mentioned, $7,000. $7,000 on 1.3 million is a square root of nothing. So if that happens, great, we have an extra $7,000 to mess with. But I think we're going to go through an awful lot of headache for no real valid and at the end of the day, I think the other point that was made, we can't pull $350,000 out of reserves next year. It ain't there. So the following council is going to have to make a major decision. Do they want a library system or not? It's going to be that basic simple. And I think that's something that as a board in 2026, I recognize that. I see the fear coming down the road, but I can't be preoccupied with it. If that upcoming council decides it does not want a library system, then that's a choice that they're going to have to make and be accountable to the entire population of Haliburton County and extended. But for now, I'm more interested in, can we get a really good product from our library? And we could have had a better product if we had more money, no argument to that. But I don't want to start nickel and diming. Hopefully we'll save a couple of $1,000 here. If it works out that way, great. And if it doesn't, then we'll run a deficit, and let's deal with that if and when that comes. I don't think so, but nevertheless, let's see what happens.
Thanks, Cease. Does anyone disagree with that plan? All right. Adele suggested that we say reserve transfer up to the amount of 354. Does it work that way, or do they just?
I think they want a
number?
number.
They just want. Yeah, that's what I. Yeah, okay, and then they would just shove it back over in the other house.
Okay, good. Yeah, whatever.
So I'm going to read the resolution. Be it resolved that the Haliburton County Library Board directs the library's 2025 year-end budget surplus be transferred to library reserves once the year-end auditing process has been completed. And furthermore, direct staff to amend the 2026 library budget to incorporate a transfer from reserves in the amount of $354,259. Could I have a mover and a second? I'll move. Okay, Adele. And a seconder? Jackie, thank you. All in favor? That's carried. Great. Yeah. We are not done this conversation, that's for sure. We've got some serious things ahead of us. And we are up to the task. So we'll look forward to that at future meetings. Moving on, the last piece on the agenda is a report on the Roma delegations mission that Cease and I undertook a few weeks ago at the Roma conference. We had an opportunity to meet with the staff of the Ministry of Tourism and Gaming. Unfortunately, Minister Cho himself was not there, which was a disappointment. But the staff was very welcoming of us and listened well, and came from rural backgrounds themselves and understood the value of a rural library in a context such as ours. It was reassuring and not reassuring. The not reassuring part, but I was grateful for the clarity of it, the honesty of it. The parliamentary assistant, Billy Dunot, was a very good listener, a very kind individual, and also was fairly clear in saying, you know what, libraries just aren't the priority of the ministry right now. So he did say that out loud, which is helpful. It's information. But he did listen hard. He also acknowledged that when he was a young lad, he would go on a weekly basis to his local library and in his rural area, and they used to call it the community living room, because that's what it was. So he did not require any schooling on the importance of local libraries. I think if we offered any kind of benefit, it would be, because I don't know what other delegations have offered, we gave more of a breakdown of the critical mass formula. The fact that, you know, in an urban area, you have 100,000 people all supportive of one or two branches in their very small area, and we have 20,000 people in the wintertime, and more than that in the summer, spread across 4,000 square kilometers over 8 branches. And the critical mass of resources going in is and flowing out to support the branches is the inverse of the critical mass formula in cities. And they probably have heard that before, but I think it was important that we explain how that plays out in Haliburton, which we did. And we were able to follow up with the policy advisor. Thanks for the quick follow-up on that, with some circulation and budgetary details that they wanted. I think they were highly impressed with the circulation that we do have, given the very low population we have relative to other population centers. And we were also offered, thanks to CESE's request, we were also offered the opportunity to speak to someone in the library, in the ministry, to talk about best practices that they have seen elsewhere, or other resources that they may know of that is available to library systems, or any kind of grasp that we could create into the provincial part of the system. So that offer was extended, and we've got to reach out and follow up on that before too much time goes. But the policy advisor also knows how imminently excited we are at being remembered when he's looking for case studies for rural libraries. You know, we can probably pull information out of the bag at the drop of a hat. I appreciate staff time is one thing, but the efforts that do go into the collection of information is really superior here, and we can make that available to him and get the Haliburton name into more white papers and blue papers and within the provincial system. So it was reassuring to make those contacts. disappointing that Minister Cho was not available to speak with us. But the connection was made and the statement was made. Cease, would you add anything to that?
The only thing I would add to that is the fact that the door's been open for us to build a relationship with people that influence. They don't necessarily make the decisions themselves, but they influence people who make those decisions. And for us to look and say, hey, listen, we're not asking for any kind of charity here. We got a serious problem, as they have in all of Ontario, but we're talking now about Haliburton County, and we should be taking advantage of that. The more we let them know how we are, the more we let them know what we're prepared to do or not, the more likely we're going to be able to be listened to the next time. And the door is open for another delegation, but we can't go back with the same story that we had in this last one. We have to go back and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. They talked about some matrices that may or may not be applicable to us. And according to them, most of those are readily acceptable. But if that is the case, we should get copies of those matrices, and we should then make sure that the people that have been assigned to us, so we can communicate with, get copies of that stuff on a regular basis. Regular basis, I don't know if quarterly would make sense, but semi-annually for sure. And somehow or another create that relationship so that at the end of the day, when we go back, and why am I saying that? Because we've done that with the health unit that I'm also involved with. And we went to a delegation at AMO. We had a 15-minute conversation. And since then, we have had two more. We had a 2-hour meeting in Toronto, and we had another half-hour meeting at Roma. So it pays off. Has it produced tangible results in terms of financing? No, but they know what we're doing at that level. So why can't we do the same thing? Let's make it in Haliburton, that we are not the same as every other library board that's around. We are different, and we are going to make sure at the end of the day that we're heard. And I'm kind of hoping if we do it the way we're doing it, we could end up becoming a model that could be used somewhere else. Again, we got to get some money, but there's more than one way to do it.
Any questions? We'll keep plugging away.
Thank you very much for doing that.
And thanks very much to staff putting together excellent information that we were able to then present to the ministry.
Yeah,
that was great.
Another team effort.
Yeah. All right. So, anything from the municipalities? I suppose from Algonquin Highlands, the only update, and you probably have it better than I, the lift is finally being replaced or repaired. Remind me, do we have a date for that?
It's happening after Family Day.
Okay.
So for the library will be closed on Wednesday and Thursday. We expect to reopen on Friday for our needle felting program. So we've redeployed staff, worked on communication, got a website banner. We're so excited that it's going to be fixed. Yeah. It'll be great.
Paul.
Not to put Lisa on the spot, but
I was just going to say that work continues at the Minden branch. I see out front they have the entrance to the gallery all blocked off and with proper safety gear and stuff. So that's about all I know at this time.
and the furnace issue, are we progressing with that?
The part is ordered and on its way. So the one furnace has been repaired. Shauna was in Minden this morning, I think, part of the loading bay area. I think the friends had to go home on Tuesday because it was so cold they couldn't do the book nook duties. But the part to repair that section is en route. So yeah, the roofing, as Lisa said, it's underway. So
yeah, the rest of the branches are comfortable temperature. So it's that one room that we're waiting for.
Thanks very much.
Great. Anything else roundtable wise? All right. So our next meeting will be on March 11th, 3 p.m. In person here and Zoom. And I guess just a motion to adjourn. I have a mover and a seconder. cease. And Paul, thank you.
Okay, before we adjourn, just a question. We talked about the delegation. We talked about what was asked. How are we going to follow this up? Because there needs to be something done between now and the next meeting. If nothing else, just make initial contact with these people and to have something to report back to the board at the next meeting on if and when we've made any progress or response from them. I'm just asking, should we be doing something in that general direction?
No, a good question, and maybe you and I and Andrea could just exchange some emails to think and plan about that, because we've got the contacts and she has the means, and together we'll figure out a plan. I think at this stage it's really just a question of touching base and getting that contact back in gear. So we can do that.
Well, I would have absolutely no problem if we wanted to schedule another. It can't be today, obviously, probably not this week, but in the next couple or 3 weeks, if we wanted to schedule another Zoom meeting of some kind, and we can kind of go over some game plan, then I would be more than willing to participate if we can find a mutually acceptable time.
Sure. Yeah, we can definitely set that up. Yeah. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you one and all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.